What's going on, guys? So I just got back from seeing Star Wars Rise of Skywalker here on the opening night, and so it's going to be a spoiler review, so there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to hear it, go ahead and just leave now. But this review is just going to be kind of just whatever pops into my head. I don't have anything written down, and I don't have stuff remembered. I have a bad memory, so it's just going to be bad for me if I try to go through everything. So it's just going to be, like I said, whatever pops in my head. So the big question is whether it was good or not. That's hard to tell, because if you've seen the reviews like I have, I'll say when going into this movie, I was completely worried. I had read a bunch of reviews, and I was super scared. Like, I was terrified that this movie was going to be horrible because a lot of reviews said they didn't like it. So that had me terrified because, you know, if you've seen this channel, I absolutely love Star Wars. It's a thing that kind of, I guess you could say, like, set up my whole life. Like, it's what I started collecting. It's what I have the biggest fandom in. So Star Wars is such an important part of my life that I feel if it's not good, it really put like a stain on my fandom and stuff. So I'm here to say, though, that personally, I loved the movie. I didn't think it was like the best movie ever. I didn't think the best Star Wars movie, but I did really enjoy it. I love the stuff that they did, and they paid off in the story that they told. Although it was a little crazy and eccentric and out there, but that's kind of set up in the past Star Wars Legends, which I love the old Legends story, so I'm fine with all the crazy stuff they did. But I'll go ahead and kick it off first here with my rating. So I'd have to say, I would have to probably give it like a 7. Like, obviously, like I said, it's not the best Star Wars movie, but it's far from the worst. And I will go and set up, because I feel everyone should probably know this, that I am not a huge fan of The Last Jedi. It's not that I have a problem with like the story or anything. I just find the movie boring. I think if you go to like exactly the last hour of the movie, so when it's the last hour left of the movie, from there on, I really enjoy it. I love that part of it, but just the beginning is just so boring to me, and I just can't get into it. So yeah, score at 7 out of 10 for me. So one thing I really enjoyed about the movie was seeing the whole gang back together. So we had the group together of Rey, Finn, Poe, BB-8, Chewbacca, C-3PO all together in the Millennium Falcon. So that was really fun to see, and see them all together for most of the movie. Of course, Rey would split off every now and then, but they were together most of the time. So the other cool thing we got to see was old returning characters. So we got to see Lando back again, which of course was revealed in the trailers. And we had Leia back again, of course, with the scenes they apparently used from The Force Awakens. They just kind of took them reused. We got to see Maz Kanata, which I was kind of worried because we never saw her in any trailer. So I'm like, is she like just completely out of the canon now? But she was returned back on their hideout planet. And as well as R2-D2, which stayed on the planet as well. So we had him, which was cool. And we got to see some other old characters. So of course we got to see like Nine Nub, and then all the other characters like Carrie Fisher's daughter was back again, Snap Wexley, a bunch of other characters that were introduced in The Force Awakens. And then we got to see what I think was Admiral Akbar's son, so that was kind of fun too. We also got to see a couple new like Force related things. So we saw that Rey was able to use the healing powers like we saw Baby Yoda do in The Mandalorian. And then we see she does use Force Lightning, which was really cool that she was able to do that. We got more stuff of Rey and Kylo being able to like connect to each other and talk to each other without being in the same space. They were just able to do that whole like mind melding where they were put together, but like I said, but in completely different locations. And speaking of Force, we got to see that Leia was like training Rey. So since obviously Luke was no longer around, we got to see that Leia was training her. And then later on, we got to see the little clip from Luke that he was teaching Leia, which of course has been a part of Legends stuff. We got to see that they worked together and that Leia had her own lightsaber and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And of course, Rey ends up getting Leia's lightsaber. And speaking of Luke, we also got Luke back again. So Luke as a Force ghost, which was pretty cool. So he got to come back and, you know, talk to Rey again on Ahch-To Island. And again, trying to help her out with some stuff as a Force ghost. Later, we didn't get to see more Force ghosts. I was really hoping we were, and I thought we were going to. So we got to hear a bunch of the old past Jedi that would now be Force ghosts. So we got to hear like Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin, so like Hayden Christensen's voice, Qui-Gon, Mace Windu, bunch of female voices, but again, besides like possibly Leia, I don't know who they exactly would have been. But that was all part of the whole crazy stuff with Palpatine. So obviously it all led to Rey finally getting back to Palpatine and participating in his like ceremony of regaining power, of taking control of her. Which, speaking of, we got to talk about her, that it's revealed who her parents were. So that's one thing this movie did. It did kind of go back and kind of answer some questions I had from Force Awakens that Last Jedi kind of either just ignored or kind of pushed off. But this kind of answered it, but kind of didn't completely get rid of the Last Jedi's answers. So we found out that Rey was the granddaughter of Palpatine, which of course I know that will probably make a bunch of people mad. I had no issue. It is a little weird, but if you know kind of like what Palpatine is, he's very much like Voldemort in Harry Potter. He just wants to do everything he can to stay alive and keep in power. So it's not surprising that like Voldemort did in the Cursed Child storyline, that Palpatine also had this child who then went on to have another child of Rey. And so we see that her parents is Palpatine's daughter and her husband, and they were trying to keep Rey away from Palpatine, so they were hiding her. And as it brought up, they chose to remain nobodies. So when Kylo and Rey in The Last Jedi were talking about saying her parents were nobodies, they technically were nobodies. And because of Rey being a Palpatine, she of course has a lot of like Sith fighting inside of her. And so we got to see, of course, the clips, or first of her using like the Force lightning, and then we got got the little scene of her when she did find the little holocron tracker thing that we saw the whole vision of her as evil with the double-bladed lightsaber, so that was kind of cool. And of course that took place on the crashed Death Star from Return of the Jedi, crashed on another moon of Endor in the ocean that you obviously see in the trailer as well. But anyways, back to the ceremony. So Palpatine has Rey there and he's like, you know, you're gonna do this, you're gonna kill me, and then I'm gonna get inside of you and I will rise again as the Empress Palpatine now. So Rey's starting to like kind of go along with it. Of course Palpatine had to do his whole show thing, so he opens the roof and you see the whole space battle going on above them with all the new Final Order ships up in the sky, and then of course the remaining Resistance troops all coming in and fighting, but of course they're getting all wiped out as usual. So Rey starts to go through with Palpatine's wishes and is doing what she said, and of course Kylo has arrived by this time, and I forgot to mention that they fought together on the Death Star remains, and with the use of Leia kind of reaching out to Ben, she was able to turn him, I guess, to the good side. So he has now turned against Palpatine and is trying to help out Rey. So he is coming back to try and save Rey because he actually got stabbed, but Rey used her powers once again on him and healed him, and so now he's coming back healed after her. And of course he has to confront his Knights of Ren, which we got to see in the movie some, so we saw them and got to see a little bit. They didn't do a whole lot, but we at least got to see them. And of course they do their whole mind meld trick where they're, you know, together but not, and so she does a thing where she kind of passes the lightsaber to him behind her back and he's able to get it, and then he defeats the Knights of Ren, then runs in with her, so they both face off against Palpatine. But then Palpatine uses his powers and he sucks like the life out of him again, kind of like a Dementor in Harry Potter, but sucks kind of like the life out of them and into him, and it makes him young again and whole again, and he starts to look like his old self, and he even has some nice cool robes and everything. And then he sits down in the Sith throne chair, everything, and shoots the lightning up in the sky, and of course that causes a big electrical surge up in the sky, and of course that's taking out all the other ships that have now arrived to help out the Resistance. So again, we see that scene in the trailer where all the ships are now there, and so they have all arrived. Ships all over the galaxy that Lando and Chewie went and sent the message out for all the ships to come help, and they arrived. And so he's doing that, kind of shocking him out. So he has more incredible powers because he's able to shoot electricity out and completely kind of send out this huge giant electric charge that's affecting everything. But of course in the end Rey is able to defeat them again with the help of all the voices of the Jedi. So it's mentioned that all the Jedi now live in her, and as Palpatine mentions, all the Sith live in him, so they are kind of facing off, and she is able to use the two lightsabers of Luke's old lightsaber and the lightsaber of Leia's, and she's able to reflect the lightning back at Palpatine and kill him and destroy him. So the day is saved from Palpatine, and then with him dead and the electricity gone now from the sky, the rest of the ships were able to come in and start taking out the rest of the Final Order ships. So going a little fast there through like the ending stuff, but just wanted to get through it. So since that gets rid of like the Final Order and all like the First Order and everything, remnants of that are now dead, we of course get to see kind of like a Return of the Jedi type stuff. We see ships falling down from the sky from all the planets, so we get to see Endor and we get to see Wicked again, which was cool. We see Jakku and some other planets that have ships crashing down. And another thing I got to bring up earlier when talking about the characters, so we got a lot more expansion of characters in this one, so we got to see a lot more of Poe and Finn especially working together. So we got to see Finn do a lot more and take on like his leadership role. And of course once Leia died, Poe became the new general or leader of the Resistance, and that made Poe become a general then. So we got to see Poe take on more of a leadership role and Finn there along with him, so that was cool to see there. And we got, like I said, got to see a lot more of them than we did in The Last Jedi. And we also got to meet some new characters throughout the way. So we got Dio, which was like an older style robot. Of course we've seen with the cone head and the will, and he was weird because he actually talked, which was kind of weird. And then we got to see like Babu Frick and Zori Bliss, which you didn't get to see much of her unfortunately. And then again early in the movie we had the whole scene where everyone thought Chewbacca died because he was taken as a prisoner by the Knights of Ren on Pisana, and then the First Order troop transport goes flying off, and of course Rey and Kylo are kind of pulling it back and forth, and that's when Rey accidentally shoots out her force lightning and it blows the ship up, and she's like, oh no, I killed Chewbacca. But then later on we find out he was on a different ship and he's still alive, and of course that leads them to breaking him out of Kylo Ren's big ship. So again, that was just a lot of stuff I threw at you. Again, that's not everything, that's just all the stuff I had that came out of my head, and I just want to kind of spit it out here on video for you. So I hope you guys like the movie as well. Again, I know it's been kind of panned as not being good, but I've seen really good reviews and really bad reviews, and I can understand why some people didn't like some stuff about it, but it'd just be like, to me, if you're not familiar, if you just hate like a lot of like legacy Star Wars stuff, because I feel a lot of that was kind of brought into this. Again, with the whole Palpatine, it was really weird. I could understand that for some people, but I personally enjoyed it. There was a lot of good action in the movie as well, like getting to see all the space battles. We had a lot of like different little action scenes and stuff that were really fun to see, and of course we got to see more of our characters doing stuff in action, so that was really cool. But once again, I did enjoy the movie. I'm going to be seeing it again next week, so hopefully my opinions will form more solid after I've seen it, you know, multiple times, because usually I watch Star Wars millions of times, so my opinion, you know, will change over time and stuff, so I'll have to see what it's like after that. But I want to know your opinions. Just go ahead and let me know in the comments comments down below. Whether you liked it or not, just let me know. I just want to hear what people's opinions are. And I feel really bad for the people that didn't like it. Like I said, this by far wasn't the best Star Wars movie, but I don't think this was the worst. I really enjoyed the story. I just felt there were some parts that could have like picked up and I was like, why are we doing this at some points? But I did enjoy a lot, and I liked the whole story of Palpatine being back. Of course, just being a fan of the old trilogy, getting to see this old familiar stuff back again, much like in The Mandalorian, it just brings back a lot of good memories, so I enjoyed it. So let me know your opinions in the comments. If you enjoyed this though, leave a thumbs up for me, and of course you can check out our channel where we do Mandalorian reviews every week after the new episodes. Then of course we have all sorts of Star Wars stuff, gameplays and action figures, all sorts of Star Wars stuff here on the channel. Go ahead and check those out for me as well, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay awesome, and I'll see you next time.